Hello, this is Dr. Brockmeyer, and during this reboot of a crazy time that we're getting ready to start here in the fall of 2021, I thought I'd add this video in an effort to enrich the communications that we're going to have clearly by text. But also, Canvas, for instance, has a mechanism where assessments, grades, feedback can be given by me, either audio or video. And I might use those from time to time during the course. But I wanted to start out with this video to welcome you and to try and give you some hints, maybe some inspiration, and some elaboration on how we're going to be doing, how this course is going to be working its way through the process. First item. The course contains some more video in its content. And if I were giving this lecture right now in a classroom and you were all sitting around waiting breathlessly to hear the wisdom that I was going to impart, you'd be taking notes. Presumably, some of you would be, I hope, or you'd be ready to take notes until you decided that all I was going to give you was some fairly useless junk, and you wouldn't take very many notes. And some of you wouldn't even have thought to bring a pencil. But there's going to be some videos in addition to this one, and what I would suggest in this course, and what I would suggest you do is take notes of the video. This video that I'm creating right now is probably going to end up being between 15 and 20 minutes in length. And there's going to be some suggestions, maybe some directions, some hints, those sorts of things. And it might not be that I get around to it in the flow of things. I have an agenda that I can refer to here. 10, 11 minutes into the video. And if you remember that I mentioned it, 5 weeks from now, you remember that I mentioned it, and you think, but I can't write yet. It's not a real strong memory. But then you think, yeah, but I can go find it in the video. Well, that means you're going to have to listen to 15 minutes of video in order to find it, unless you've taken notes. And then, if you've taken notes, you'll know that it's 12, 15 minutes into the video, and you can fast forward. It's a better, more efficient use of your time. Some of you may already know this, but I'm trying to suggest that a lot of information nowadays is presented on a screen, and if you take notes about it, it might help. We have a 500-page text. If you take notes about your reading, it might help you locate stuff that you may need to refer to 10 weeks from now that you read in chapter 2. So take some notes, especially of the video. I would encourage you to do that, strongly encourage. What I would also The next thing I want, if you don't remember anything else I say today, remember this. Read the syllabus, all of the syllabus. We both know, because decades ago I was presented with my first, it was before all this technology was involved at college, so everybody on the first class was passed out a copy of the syllabus, a written copy. Killed a lot of trees. And I'd start reading it about into page 4, 5 maybe, of 15 pages. I'd say to myself, I've read this in every syllabus that I've read since I've been going to college. So I might skim it, I might skip it for that matter, and I'd say to myself, well, if that becomes, if I have a question about it, I can always come back. About, well, what happens if I submit something late? Well, that's always in every syllabus. And it's usually about the same, the policy. And so you can, if you're submitting something late, you can always go back and say, oh yeah, that's in the syllabus. Whereas if you've read it, you'll know where in the syllabus. In the syllabus in this course, for instance, you'll know what percentage of points is necessary to get a B. So 10 weeks from now, or 8 weeks, when you get your midterm grade, you'll be able to know that that's in the syllabus, and you might even remember or have set aside, maybe put a flag on it or something, so that you'll find it quickly. There are 2 pages in, for instance, the attendance policy. There's an attendance policy at NKU, and if you don't come to the first class, that's in general, you're dropped from the course. Well, online that doesn't make any sense, because the first class lasts 24/7 for a week, right? So instead, in order to make that first class, you have to participate. You have to show me that you not only logged on, but also that you did something. And in this course, there's a survey, there's a first discussion board, all of which will document that you opened it and you did something. Doesn't have to be something worth a Nobel Prize, but at least it shows that you were serious about coming to this course. The reason for this, of course, is because some people sign up for, instead of the 4, 5, 6 courses, that's a full load, they might sign up for 9, with the thought being that they'd go to a class and they'd see if they liked it, they'd decide whether, heck, I'm not going to take this course. The textbook is $225. People drop courses for peculiar reasons. It might not be, they might get scheduled for their part-time job when the course meets, that sort of thing. So they shop the course. Well, what happens under the policy is if they don't get to the first class, they get dropped, and somebody else who got closed out of that course can then have access to that course. And they might just jump back in. Now, if the person missed the first class for even a bad reason, but for some reason, they couldn't find a parking place because they didn't realize that an 8:30 course, you might have to leave home at 7:30 on the first day, right? Then they can always get back in the course. But unless somebody jumps in front of them, is thinking ahead, and grab their seat. So, the attendance policy, guess where you can find that? In the syllabus, right? The 2 pages of the syllabus, the last 2, are the most important ones, and the ones that are unique to every course, and that's the course schedule. And that has what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to submit it, and that sort of thing. So you might, presumably you'll be making reference to that regularly. We also know that in the Canvas course, there's, on the syllabus, there's the things that are due that are listed on the screen for the one that says syllabus, and that'll give you some due dates and then just the name, like discussion board 3. It doesn't tell you what's in the discussion board or what it's about. So the point is, know where that course schedule is, because guess what? You have to manage your time. I don't. I can't. And you're going to get a grade, not me, and so you're responsible for doing the work. And in order for you to accept that responsibility in an informed way, you have to have access to the course schedule. Next thing, so read the syllabus. Then spin through, tour the Canvas course. Find out what's where. Find out where the grading philosophy is. Incidentally, it's in the syllabus too. I have a grading philosophy that I set forth. The foundation of which is you don't get an A for doing the minimum. If a discussion board says you're required to put 3 posts, 1 initial, 2 replies in a week, that's the minimum that you can do. Now, you can get an A by doing the minimum if you do the minimum real well. You are precluded from an A by just doing the minimum. But just doing the minimum and the minimum number of words and kind of lame, half-baked way isn't going to get you an A. You can't write me an email and said, how come you took away points from me? I made 3 posts. Well, that's, you'll see, and if you read the grading philosophy, there's 2 misconceptions in that statement. First of all, I don't take points away, you earn them. And second of all, you'll see that you didn't earn even the beginnings of an A if you didn't make the minimum number of posts, and you might have earned more than the B or something like had you made more posts. Who knows? You'll see as we go along, but the grading philosophy is in the syllabus, and it's also in the Canvas course. So tour through that and see what's there. Discussion boards, they're also rubrics. I use rubrics to help you figure out how to attack, how to approach a learning activity, a deliverable that you're going to have to submit, including a discussion board. There's a rubric for, it's the same rubric, but one of the things that I encourage, and therefore you earn a higher grade from, is that discussion boards are a way to exchange, share knowledge, experiences, understanding, conclusions, and opinions. Some opinions are conclusions, but there are a lot of opinions that aren't conclusions. They're just out of somebody's ear or something. And what we're interested in doing is exchanging informed conclusions, even informed opinions. For instance, if you were to say in a discussion board that the moon is made of blue cheese. There used to be a myth that it was. Yeah, that's wrong. It isn't. It's not information worth sharing. As a matter of fact, it's misleading. But if you were to give a citation from somebody else who believed that the moon was made of blue cheese, we could all see that where you got that was from a text 400 years ago. Everybody used to think that the Earth was the center of the world, of the universe, right? Because that's what seems to be said in the Bible, in Genesis. Well, we know that that's not true. Not from evidence, it's not true. At least physically. Now, it might be, there are people on the Earth who think that the universe is centered in them, but you know what I mean. Centered might be a metaphor, right? A crude way of expressing something that was beyond the vocabulary. But the point is, one in this example is that one could say, well, I've concluded that the Earth is the center of the universe, and then a citation that says, Book of Genesis, Old Testament, written with a little parentheses. You remember you do it with APA format, with the parentheses that gives the year of its publication. And of course, the year of its publication was in the 1500s. That's when it was published in English. The King James Version was an English translation of a Greek fragment of a Hebrew narrative. But we would then say, oh, that's where you got that opinion. It's only 600 years old. I wonder if we could find something a little more recent. So that's just an example of why it is a good thing and why I encourage references even in answers to discussion boards, posts in discussion boards, because it makes your offering more valuable, more credible, and even more valid. So, and that's in the rubric. You'll see if you forget that, that's in the rubric, which you can open as you compose your posts. Okay. I guess one other thing that's important for me to suggest here is that if you have a question, if you're confused, ask me by an email, or ask one of your classmates, like you would if this were a face-to-face lecture, and you might turn to the person whom you know that's right next to you and said, did he say page 430, or that sort of thing. Ask the questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There are such things as unnecessary questions, like, well, how many points do I need to get a B? To ask them that to me. That's an unnecessary question because that answer's in the syllabus, right? And I do the same thing. It's just human. But a lot of times it's easier to ask somebody than to go look it up yourself. And so you're sitting there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you don't know, and you think something's due on Monday, but you're not real sure. You can go look at the class schedule, or you can blast off an email that, of course, I won't even see until 4 hours later, but it's easier for you. When is this due? That's what the content of the email. Well, I'll take a couple of those. I understand that there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes you're doing it on a phone as you're getting off work, and you don't have access to this information as easily. So you can either decide to wait and look it up, or you dash off an email. Try and keep the unnecessary question, and believe me, I'll point out to you in my response where, if it's an unnecessary question, I'll tell you where to get the answer instead of what the answer is. But if it's a confusing, if you look up the answer and you still are confused, ask. There are no dumb questions. There might be an unnecessary question, and there might be a dumb answer, but there's no dumb questions. Ask questions if you're unsure. The final thing is that you'll see that we'll be doing some readings that might not parallel what we're delivering either in a discussion board or a quiz or that sort of thing. They won't be, you might be doing a discussion board number 6 during the week that we're reading chapter 10, and that doesn't mean that discussion board 6 is necessarily about chapter 10, but you can include information that you gained in chapters 1 through 10 in preparing your discussion board answer, right? So don't let that confuse you. Many times, even in courses that I've designed, it seems like it's chapter 8, discussion board 8, question about chapter 8. We don't necessarily have to do that too much in this course because we have some quizzes on the various chapters too, to encourage you to keep up with your reading. The statistic, this is an old statistic, but I don't think the conclusion is that much invalid, and that is that especially good students, they got through college without doing any homework. They didn't read the assignments in their text and all that other stuff. That was true even when I was in college. I had a classmate in law school who, when it came time, the week before final exams, he held a celebration where he'd take this $400 textbook that he bought, used for $200, and he'd have a party where he'd open the textbook for the first time, and because that's when he would start studying. Now, I don't know what happened. He didn't graduate with us. I don't know if he graduated at all. It doesn't matter. But and it's obviously not a very good approach to paying for an education that you hope gives you some knowledge. That's what our goal here is: knowledge, understanding, wisdom, not A, B plus. All that does is summarize in one symbol what level of knowledge you had as a snapshot at that point in time. So, but I know it's important, and it's important for a lot of reasons. It's not just a symbol of your level of knowledge, but it also might maintain your scholarship and a lot of other things. I'm not that oversimplified of it. There's more nuance to a grade. But the point of all of this is that to take the notes and do the work that's necessary to earn, to acquire the knowledge to earn the grade, right? And even if you choke on the way we assess your level of knowledge, you choke on a quiz, you aren't feeling well or whatever, something else going on in your life, that still doesn't mean you haven't acquired the knowledge. You just haven't performed in a way that demonstrates it to somebody else. And we all do that. We all underperform sometimes. Okay. This is, I'm looking forward, this is one of my favorite courses to teach, ethics and decision making, because my general belief is that everybody kind of knows what's right and what's wrong. Most leaders don't have the luxury of a binary choice between what's right and what's wrong. They have to choose between what's right for some and what's right for others, or what's right for the organization, the stakeholders, so the choices are what's right. There's three rights. They're all ethical. And for the most part, those people that perhaps make some unethical decisions, they knew they were unethical. They just didn't make a good decision because they didn't balance the risks with the benefits. Most poor decisions for immature people are made because the person rightfully analyzed that the risk of being caught was small, but they made a huge misjudgment about the consequences of being caught doing something wrong. So, but more of that as we get into the course. So let's get to work.